think we're live on the internet, gentlemen. Welcome
Yes, we are.
everyone to the chat. It is the Crypto Lark, and I am super excited to have with me some awesome guests today. We have K-Dub, the Crypto Zombie, Kevin from Bitcoin for Beginners, and Crypto Spark, Ed, as you may know him otherwise. Welcome, everyone.
How's it going, everybody? And obviously for everybody on my end, I'm sure you know everyone here. So, as usual, K-Dub, Crypto Zombie, let's go. Let's go, guys.
Boom. Boom.
Looking forward to it.
Now, for everyone out there in TV land tonight, we're going to be talking about the state of the markets, what's going on with Ethereum, playing a bit of games to try and keep things a bit light and fun, but also trying to answer some of your questions. So whoever's live stream you happen to be on, feel free to bring a few questions in. We'll try and answer some fun questions, but if real questions are definitely
somebody's asking. Someone on my chat's asking about our opinion on Zinfin. We'll have to get back to that a little bit later. So
you've just made their day,
clockwork.
You've just made their day, man. Oh my god!
Inside joke, guys. Inside joke.
Okay, guys. Well, let's start off. So, I think a really hot topic recently has been Ethereum. Now, we all know that Ethereum's having all these issues with scaling, and everyone's saying, how many articles have I seen in the last couple of weeks saying Ethereum's dead, it's all over, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, as the price goes down, and it's easy to pick on things when the price are going down. But guys, I want to know, what is your thought on the current state of Ethereum? Is it going to be able to scale in time to remain relevant?
I have a few opinions, real quick, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, Kevin.
I
saw you did a video about this the other day, so you're fresh on the topic, man. Let's go for it.
I was also recently at a conference and had some conversations with other people about this, and I think the first thing is I wasn't around back early, but when Ethereum had that first crash from down to $3, they said the kind of conversation was the same, that Ethereum was dead and whatnot. Everybody thought the same. That I thought was interesting. Number two is that I think once they're able to release Casper, sharding, Plasma, whatever, all those technological improvements, that's going to quell a lot of critics. And the last thing I would say is that I think a lot of the criticisms against Ethereum are valid, but I read a post by Vitalik recently saying that he hears them and they're going to do some protocol changes in the future to make Ethereum more needed and baked in to any usage in the Ethereum network, and kind of potentially slow down the emission and other stuff like that, which I think is really promising.
The actual Ether itself, you mean, the token, give it more utility?
Make it so that it's absolutely necessary to use that if you're running a dApp on Ether, because right now there's ways to do it where you don't need Ether, using the own token or some other way. Yeah, you'll need to read more his blog post, but yeah,
it's definitely interesting. I mean, if it does stay as the currency of the Ethereum network, well, obviously it's got tremendous value, assuming that Ethereum goes up to 1,000 transactions per second or whatever, let's say. Well, then you've got all these dApps running on it that all need to have Ether to pay their gas fees. Makes sense to me. K-Dub, what do you think?
Definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, I had a live stream with Hashoshi. He's an Ethereum developer, and I asked him, are you ready to jump ship? Is it time? And he was just like, absolutely not. We have the strongest developer base there is for any smart contract platform out there. And, if anybody wants to see it succeed, it's definitely the community at large. And, you have to think to yourself, you got a guy like Vitalik, very intelligent, right? Yes, there's a lot of other projects coming out there as well, but you have to think about how robust this ecosystem is right now. There's already so much in time that's been inherited into it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I used to be a lot harder on Ethereum a while ago. I actually think that Ethereum's going to be all right. I think they'll be all right, because you look at a lot of these other projects out there that are almost and I'm not going to say names, but they're almost like copycat Ethereum virtual machines, right? Mm. So, all these guys are like, oh, we tweaked our consensus, right? But what happens when Ethereum actually does do it? What place are we going to have for all these other projects out there, right? The only thing I worry about is the timeline. They're saying it could take up to 2 years. That to me is just
that's a long time in
decades
crypto. Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing to keep in mind too is everyone's always out there criticizing stuff, or they hear us criticizing something and say, well, therefore you hate Ethereum, or therefore you hate EOS or whatever. Nah, man, you got to ask these hard questions to projects. You can't screw around with them. These are the billion-dollar projects here, multi-billion-dollar projects, some of them, and you have to ask the hard questions.
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt you, Lark, but speaking of the Ethereum on steroids, EOS being the killer, that's another thing we were speaking about with Hashoshi. He was saying, there was an issue with the EOS bet, and people were basically able to cheat the system, and they were able to get like a ridiculous amount of jackpots that they won over and over through some backdoor entrance. And I had reported the news on this, and I actually thought this was an issue with EOS themselves. And he's telling me that actually it's just a lot of poor developers. So, sometimes you have to really look at it. Like some of these big news stories that you hear that say, oh, Ethereum this and EOS that, sometimes it's just poor coding. And it really doesn't truly reflect the platform. So you have to always know where you're getting your sources from,
That's right. Ed, do you want to jump in here? Oh, go ahead, Gavin. Then we'll get.
Just real quick. I think one thing kind of similar to what you just touched on is that I think that is one reason why Ethereum moving slowly in terms of releasing new upgrades might not be a bad idea, because they want to make sure that everything is solid, fully tested before they just throw it out into wild and potentially cause a lot of bugs and like red marks on their reputation.
That's it.
So first off, I'm patient because these guys are so bright. It's good to listen to and get different perspectives, first of all. So it's very cool. There's a couple of points of view on Ethereum. First of all, you can't ignore stories. We don't want to get caught up in FUD, but you don't want to ignore, because if Ethereum has created the biggest platform, right? It's this unbelievable infrastructure. I mean, not 20, 30 years worth, but it's this unbelievable infrastructure that an incredibly large number of projects are relying on. So it's unbelievably important that it goes smoothly. It doesn't mean that it'll take down everybody, but it could create an incredible domino effect. We've never experienced this before. We don't know what's going to happen if Ethereum didn't work out right, or there was a major problem that they just could not correct somehow. We don't know. Okay, that's the negative kind of like, let's be critical side of it, right? On the other hand, I did a video on this just recently. I just started seeing these hammering one after another article, video, headline that was just destroying Ethereum for like the past 3 months. It was like nonstop. And after you see a few critical articles, you're like, oh, I should read this and really see what they're trying to say. And this could take a while for them to develop, and maybe it's too long. And let's critique it and use analytical skills and not be foolish. But at the same time, when it started coming one after another, and they were like the bots that we talked about, they were almost identical comments, I started thinking, somebody's driving this baby down. There's something wrong here. It doesn't smell right. It could be wrong on top of the stuff that's maybe challenging and, some of the problems going forward for proof of stake and some of these discussions of, is it centralized? Is it not? I mean, there's one thing to be critical. Another thing is to just continuously destroy a project that's quite honestly attracted a lot of attention. And a lot of big people and names and new developers and engineers and entrepreneurial spirit and excitement. And I mean, that's cool, even if it doesn't go perfectly smoothly, but too many articles in a row just bashing it. And I thought, this doesn't smell right.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Ed. And I think this is something people really need to keep in mind. I see us quite a bit with ICOs. You see some really, really good ICOs, and they just get fudded like crazy. And sometimes that is well-founded, and it's absolute pile of crap. And sometimes it's very savvy people at the top trying to dissuade people from actually getting into it. And so you do see this. There are people out there who literally try and manipulate the markets. They're able to get those articles put out. They're able to have people talk about things in certain ways. And so there's a bit of that too. But at the same time, Ethereum has attracted a lot of attention because it's number 2 on CoinMarketCap, and it's currently not scaling. And like K-Dub said, if it takes 2 years, that's crazy time in crypto.
That's a lifetime, yeah.
The only thing I don't know about Ethereum, and I see Hashoshi, he's actually in the chat right now, so if you know the answer to this, let me know, man. But I wonder if they're able to, because I see a lot of other projects utilizing the side chains. Like, for example, you have Komodo and Arc, and I actually was just speaking to JL777 today. I actually had an interview with him. Of course, he's anonymous, so we had to do it all via text. And he was explaining to me that realistically, if you can just have side chains be interoperable with each other, then in theory, it's infinitely scalable. So I don't know if that's something that Ethereum can implement or if it's doing it already, but if they can get these side chains working with each other, then the scalability is solved. So I don't know if that's something that they can do, but I mean, if they ever can figure that out, then forget it. It's done. it's over.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of work going on right now for Ethereum side chains, so that's definitely part of the equation without a doubt. Now, someone's mentioned holochain down here. Looking at blockchain, and then we have all these non-blockchain projects like holochain, like IOTA, and on it goes. We have the DAGs, right? And so there's different approaches towards a distributed ledger. What do you guys think? Is blockchain going to be the thing? Is DAG going to replace it, or are they just going to kind of coexist like they currently are? Gavin, you want to hop in?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they have such fundamentally different characteristics that the use cases for them are going to be different. Like, obviously, blockchain isn't the one-size-fits-all solution that a lot of media pundits and other people say it is. Neither is DAG, but I think there are very specific scenarios which fit perfectly for each of them. And so, to answer your question, I think that coexisting is the way that it will happen. But I guess we'll see.
Definitely.
Ed, thoughts?
What do you think, Spark?
Yeah, my feeling is I don't think the term blockchain, right? I mean, by the way, just plug this book. It's not my book, but Blockchain Revolution, if you guys haven't read it or seen it, is, in my opinion, the most thorough book that I've seen so far on this ecosystem. Doesn't cover everything, and it's not like a snow job or a sales job, but they put together an unbelievable array of people and interviews and all kinds of stuff. So when I see this, I think to myself, we are caught on one or two words, but this is so early on. There are people that are developing other technology. It's not even blockchain, right? It's not even the same term, and who knows what happens to it, but there are other people developing other things. Right now, blockchain is the big thing. Maybe there'll be something next year that we look back and go, well, blockchain's a part of it, but it's not the only thing. Something else on top of it or something off to the side, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, it's innovation, which to me, when people try to bash down either ICOs in general, not specific bad projects or whatever, but in general, or even cryptos in general, I always step back and I think to myself, forget the name for a split second. This is humans taking their energy and trying to move forward into something that's mind-blowingly cool and has unlimited potential that none of us even can grasp where it could go in 5, 10, 20, maybe our kids' years, right? So to me, I think it's super cool to be in this space because it has so much new stuff that's happening on a regular basis. Some of it will fall away. Some of it will rise up and be amazing and change lives for the better. Mm-hmm. But none of us know what that is. So to me, I'm excited about the whole space because I see humans striving forward. It was like people trying to go to the moon, Now they're coming up with like this technology that has so many different applications. I love it.
The moon. We're still trying to go to the moon, Ed.
I love the whole space. I don't know what it'll be next year. Maybe blockchain is not the buzzword next year. It's, AI or it's DAG or it's something else. I don't care. I want it all.
I've got a good question. I got a question here. I want to hop in on it. I'll let you guys think about this one. So this is from David. He asked, what do you guys think about Hyperledger's Fabric?
Exactly.
Now,
bingo.
We see a lot of, blockchain projects, forking off of Hyperledger. Or what do you guys just think about really the idea of proprietary blockchains, not public blockchains that are going to be used for enterprises? A lot of people I have heard saying, well, this is going to replace all this stuff. We don't need public blockchains. We're going to have all these private companies running their private blockchains. Technology is going to be useful. It's kind of one of those, we like blockchain, but not Bitcoin kind of conversations. But where do you guys fall on this kind of topic?
That's a tough one. Because I've actually had this discussion with a lot of different people, and there is that utopia of like, oh, the decentralized future where we're all just going to live and everyone's going to have equal. But then you realize that a lot of these companies, they want to be centralized. That's how their model functions. Like there's a reason that Google and Facebook and Amazon are so good at what they do. They're good at what they do because they're small, tiny little interconnected intranets within themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were to like turn it out, become public, open source, let everybody get involved, that would kind of take away your power. So it's actually a little bit of a conflict of interest. So you do find a lot of them being very interested in the blockchain aspect of it, but not so interested in the cryptography or the crypto side of it, I should say. That is. So, and yeah, I didn't have an opportunity to kind of hop in on that other thing, but speaking on the DAGs and blockchain stuff, I think they're going to have completely different use cases. Like for example, you have different ways you can automate something. You have a gasoline engine, or you can have hydraulics, or you can have electronics, you know? And I don't think there's going to be a like a one size fits all approach, but I would not be surprised if a lot of these enterprises moving forward keep it very closed. You know, I'm sorry. I just realistically think that when you're on top, you want to stay on top. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
how it is.
I'm gonna give you my 2 cents. Over this past couple of days, I went to Token Fest, right? So that was super cool, awesome, really great. As a matter of fact, Hyperledger was there, and I'm hoping to have an interview with these guys. But one of the keynote speakers was from IBM. It was the CTO of the IBM blockchain division. And at one point, he had to try to convince everybody in the audience that permissioned blockchains are still going to be a big part of enterprise. And that's just fact. And I've been talking about the split, what I call the split, right? Whatever we call it. There's absolutely going to be private blockchain, period. End of story. The IMF has been talking about it because, of course, that's what they want, right? They want that other version. But I mean, just that doesn't mean that there won't be what we want as decentralized and permissionless. That doesn't, like, the whole world could move slowly into blockchain, be super excited, and maybe not talking about what we're talking about. That's okay. That's not a bad thing. There's still some amazing advantages. And by the way, some great investment opportunities.
Oh,
but
yeah.
as what we're talking about, decentralized, open, permissionless, that cat is out of the bag. That is absolutely not going away. And there's reasons for it, from privacy to rights that we have, basic human rights, to control of our monetary policy. Bottom line, that cat is out of the bag, and not just physically or digitally, but from a concept point of view. And a lot of companies will not go in that direction, or they'll have hybrids, and that's okay. There's nothing, good for them. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't fit for every company, as you said, and that's okay. But I think there's other stuff that's exciting, the Bitcoin, right? That kind of stuff, that movement, that's going to just keep growing as well.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Kevin, what do you think?
If I could, I think I second both things that Ed and K-Dub said, but if I could add a little bit on that thing that Ed mentioned earlier about the energy in the space. I also was at a conference last month in Vegas, and one of the keynote speakers was Gary Vaynerchuk, and he talked about his thoughts about crypto and blockchain, and thought it really stuck with me, because he said that we got to be patient here. Like, everybody's criticizing like X or Y is wrong with blockchain or doesn't work well. No one would ever want to use it. But he's saying that in his experience, technology moves a lot slower than we want it to and that we expect to. And so he gave 2 examples. Like, he said he was one of the first e-commerce people with e-commerce and social media. And he brought his dad's wine company online. And he said that people would always rail on him, be like, no one would ever want to buy wine online. But he built it into like a $60 million company. And then also he said with like online dating, like when it first happened, online dating was around a long time ago, but he was saying like everyone frowned upon it. It's like, it's all weirdos. No one's ever going to use that. But then now it's like into the mainstream and no one really cares. So he's saying things move a lot slower than you think, and just focus on building, focus on adding value, and then we'll see where it goes. So I thought that really stuck with me.
Yeah, he's definitely inspiring when it comes to that. I mean, you think about, they used to tell you, don't get into cars with strangers and don't talk to people you meet on the internet. We literally do that with Uber every single day.
Right.
Like, so there has been a definite shift. It used to be like, hey, be careful, they're wiretapping you. Now it's like, hey, wiretap, check like tonight's TV show, right? Alexa. So, right? Like, times do change, and you often find that the people that are the revolutionary people, they get made fun of at first. And Gary Vaynerchuk, in my opinion, he kind of was the entrepreneur before being an entrepreneur was like a thing. So yeah, you're going to have, and we, getting back to Ethereum, Ethereum is really the first smart contract platform, right? So it's going to get that kind of like, well, do we need it? Is it really necessary with the smart contract anyway? So yeah, Kevin, I absolutely agree with that, man. And there's going to be people that disagree. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
And you know what? We may, I don't know individually if one of you are in this space, from day one, let's say. I mean, my first exposure was probably, 2012 or something. But, we're still early, and I don't even want to say adopters, but we're still very early in the development of whatever this thing's going to be, right? But, there's still going to be massive amount, and I mean massive, meaning like 95% at least of people that have no idea what we're talking about right now. We're like 4 dorks on the internet. They're like, what are you talking about? This is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And they don't really care about that. And it's okay, right? I mean, they don't care about how cars work either, but most people, I don't know about the percentage in the world, but most people like, hey, that's a pretty cool thing to have now, right? Even if they have no idea how it works. So it's going to evolve over time, and it might take, who knows, maybe maybe it'll take a generation. Like, we don't really know to have some kind of foundation. But when I was at this conference, one of the people said, where are all the speculators? And he was kind of saying it sarcastically, like, where are the speculators? And everybody in the audience didn't know what to say. They kind of like waited, like, what is he talking about, the speculator? What do you mean? Because that word has kind of gotten a negative connotation, right? There's all these speculators. And then he waited and everybody was quiet. And he said, we're all speculators, and that's good. We're speculating right now. It's not a negative, ugly word. It's that we're shooting out ahead of most people, the large majority. We're still in that speculation group. Now, I say speculation is good. I would say malinvestment is bad. But speculation is that part of the human ingenuity that wants to move forward to the next thing. And, it doesn't matter if it's the car, if it's some tool that was 500 years ago. We are that next, quote, generation, even though I'm a lot older than you guys. We're that next generation that's moving towards this next really world-changing speculation, and that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, is the money's got to come in, and it's got to come in from someplace, and people speculating on these things actually fund the projects, which let them then, build out these different technologies. So it's being a speculator is not a bad thing. And it's actually funny, the power of these words that have developed around things like money in particular. A lot of people have a lot of fear about money, fear about getting rich, fear about, talking about money. But actually, that's all so counterintuitive, because be open to it. Let this abundance come in terms of investments and things like this. It's very important to have that open relationship with finance.
Well, yeah, I mean, the big fat banker cat guy, he's always the bad guy. Well, not so much the bankers, but you tend to see people talk about these rich people as they're the bad guy. But in reality, most of them, I would say the majority of them, there's always some really dirty doings out there, but most of them are generally wealthy because they provided something that was extremely valuable, and people found the value in that and in turn decided to pay for it. Yep. I mean, Apple's doing well. Why? Because, we use their phones. No one told it. No one put a gun to my head and said, buy the phone. They just do an amazing job at providing a seamless customer experience, right? So there you go. So I think sometimes you have to switch the way that you look at it. And considering how early we are as the pioneers, I always like to make it kind of like a reference, like uncharted territories, getting in a boat and setting sail. You don't know if you're going to hit the land. You don't know if you're going to make it. You don't know if you're going to have enough food, or if you do hit the land, maybe you're going to get shot by the natives or something, right? And you got to think about it, and then we're going to be the ones like, here's a map. I charted it out. Here's the dangerous places. And then the next wave of people, they're the ones that can reap the benefits. But unfortunately, everyone in the chat right now, all of us, we're so early. We are the pioneers. So it's tough. And, people ask, well, I put my money into this coin. I lost my money. Why? I don't know. The same reason I did, because we speculated. But it's healthy, though. I mean, what do you think, Ed? It's like you were saying, it's healthy, right? I mean, if no one was speculating, we wouldn't even be here right now.
I just wish people would, so I'm not an old guy like some 70-year-old, but sometimes I just wish people would just listen a little bit, right? So I had this other channel, and I talk a lot about building portfolios and diversifying. And a lot of people, I mean, I'm a never-ending dork about learning. So I'm always reading about economics, monetary policy, and theories constantly. And I have some really hardcore opinions. The problem is some of these opinions are not very popular. And so I'm careful. Like, it's not that I'm trying to be unpopular. I'm trying to save people from making stupid mistakes that I make, like that I've made. And I realize that there are some people up at the very top that are incredibly powerful, like beyond, okay? And they're looking down right now and they're like, how can we get a piece of this and control it all at once? And that's not some conspiracy crap. That's reality. Like, there are people out there that want to take yours and put it in their pocket, and they're not thinking like altruistically. They're just going to go and do whatever it takes, legally, illegally, period. So I always think to myself, you've got to have I'm kind of simplistic. You got to have a 3-step plan. 1, super boring, okay? Education. It's education. And everybody's amazing.
It's not boring at all.
Yeah, I mean, step 1 is education. Step 2 is having a really good strategic plan. Step 3 is action. And people always start out at action. They're like, I'm going to just jump in. I don't care about the education piece. You're boring the shit out of me. So they're just like, they jump in and then they come back and they're like, K-Dub, I can't believe it. I didn't do it. I didn't follow the plan correctly, but I can't believe it. Why did you make me jump in right away without doing the same exact damn principles that have worked for 1,000 freaking years? How come you didn't just tell me when to get in? People ask me, family members, best friends, they would ask me, what should I do? And I'd be like, slow down. Okay, slow down.
If I knew every bottom and every top, I wouldn't even be talking to you guys right now. I'd just be trading in the background, being a millionaire. We're all trying to figure this out. You know what I mean? And so that's the idea. That's why we have these interviews. We have these discussions. We bring on CEOs. We do reviews. We go into white papers. And it's funny because the tech is kind of boring. And sometimes I'll have a video, I'll put it out tech related and I only get this many views.
Yep.
Then, you put out the entertaining fun video, everybody watches it. It's like, you want to get a lot of views, just literally this coin will 10X, why you should buy. Boom. Right?
Exactly.
But that's not fair. Yeah, exactly.
It's tough because you want to provide that education and the great information too. Now, guys, I want to just a little bit of a different kind of question. We're going to play a game here in a moment, but I wanted to actually think about this. Ed kind of mentioned non-crypto investing, which I know for a lot of people watching cryptocurrency YouTube channels, like, what? There's things to put your money in outside of cryptocurrencies? That's ridiculous.
Turn it off. We're good.
Now, is there any non-crypto investment that you have or that you would like to make? For me, I've been looking at cannabis stocks recently. I thought those look very hot. I feel I've already missed the train on that, though, so I haven't been, that was the thing 6 months ago to get in. Now it's time to be looking to cash out or take some profits on those. But what do you guys think?
I mean, I don't invest in any traditional stocks or anything of that nature. So, but I mean, this is smaller. You're not going to become a millionaire, but you guys know, most people that follow my channel, I actually invest in rare like art and vinyl records. So I see collectibles and things of that nature. You never know what person is going to value something. So I try to almost predict the valuability of something. Like I'll give you, for example, like you notice right now you're having, this is just, Halloween's coming up, right? You're having the Halloween movie remake, with Jamie Lee Curtis and all that coming out. So if you go online right now, you'll notice all those Michael Myers masks that used to be sitting in your basement are now suddenly worth double, triple what they were worth. So I try to like predict these trends. So I guess I don't really invest in anything that's not like art, music, or stuff like that. Collectibles.
Collectibles are the real deal, though. I mean, I actually shared a story recently.
CryptoKitties.
CryptoKitties as an example. I shared a story recently where when I was a teenager, I had a Magic the Gathering Black Lotus card, and I traded it away. I know, right? And I traded it away for a bunch of like Star Wars collectible cards because I was more into Star Wars at the time. And oh man, I saw something that like one sold for like $85,000 recently. I was like, should have hodled that, man. Should have hodled that.
Wow.
It's like that golden Charizard or whatever it was back in the Pokemon game or whatever that was.
But it just goes to show though, collectibles can be really, really big without a doubt.
Wasn't there just a Ferrari that sold, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I did an interview on somebody that's tokenizing, right, this kind of stuff, the fine art collectibles. I think the Ferrari was like $70 million. I think it was a Ferrari. It was a Ferrari, $70 million. I don't know. I just had a comment in the chat on the stream, and it just, I'm assuming they were talking to me. So I'm going to use this as, hopefully it's going to be a helpful piece for people to understand. The comment was kind of like nothing better than a condescending YouTuber. And I think it was something like the way I was presenting. I wish people would listen to me about investing. And it's not because I'm their financial advisor. I assume they're talking to me because I was really excited, right? But I think that the point that I'm trying to get across is we can have different ways of investing. Like we can have different portfolios and different, like, the collectible area, and you're honing in and you educate yourself. That's awesome. I did a little bit of that, and somebody else might say, no, mine is real estate. Hey, that's awesome. If you know what your thing is, and you're in it, then you know it better than I know it, and that's the way it's supposed to be, right? If you really know your stuff. But ultimately, it still comes down to a couple things. One, being really intelligent about how you build a portfolio for short term, medium term, long term. Not the way I do it. I'm not giving advice. I'm reading these books for the past 30 plus years. And the people, they're continuously coming up with theories that are how to protect yourself, how to diversify correctly. For me, Some of that is real estate. Some of it's precious metals. I mean, there's a portfolio that I've developed that works for me. It's not like people should listen to the way I do it, but I'm in my head, I'm thinking, man, every single time there's this buyout program or bail-in program with the big banks, since 1971, when the gold window closed from President Nixon, that income and wealth gap continues to increase when there's a crisis. What does that mean? Everything I read means the little guy is going to get screwed again. And so you have to protect your portfolio against the fact that they're not going to help you. They're not going to help me. We've got to use this whole crypto thing and whatever other ways you diversify your portfolio to protect against whatever they're going to do in order to bail out the very, very top 1% of 1%, and to protect against our own emotions, the stupid stuff that I know I'm going to do again because I'm a human being. So I want to protect against those things. And that, for me, is about diversification, big time, hard assets when you can, which is why that's why I got into cryptos, because I'm like, wow, this thing, they can't take it from me. They can't keep printing it up. They can't keep debasing it. There's no way if I want
power, right? Bitcoin, without a doubt.
A lot of people, Ed, they still don't even know that. I was having a conversation with my dad the other day, and he was talking about crypto, and he was like, "Yeah, but the dollar's backed by gold," and I'm like, "Actually, it's not. It's ever since, like you said, the Nixon got taken off the gold standard. When you hold a dollar, you basically have a piece of paper that it's an IOU. It's like, I promise you, it's worth something. Like that's literally what it is. It's a note. It's a federal note.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I want to get Kevin in here. Kevin, what do you think? So alternative investments.
I'm a little bit boring too. I'm kind of like K-Dub. I switched all my stocks to crypto. I didn't have that much of stocks in the first place. I guess I also have some like Vanguard funds, but that's kind of just like put in a little bit every year and chill. But I think in terms of stocks, I'd be a little bit anxious and also curious because it's been at all-time highs after all-time highs. And you know how they say there's like an 8-year cycle or 9-year cycle or something. And it's been like past that for a while and without a bear market. So I guess we'll see what happens with regular stocks and how that affects crypto too. I hope it doesn't mean a continued depressed effect on crypto as well. But I guess we'll see.
That Schiller guy came out and said that he thinks it's due with whatever his name is, the Schiller guy.
Yeah, Robert Schiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, I want to move on and do a little bit of a little something different here just to shake it up midway through the conversation. So I'm going to give you guys the start of a sentence, and you're going to finish that sentence. Just a quick little fun thing, right? So
this is why I love live streams with Lark.
Not big answers, just short answers. So, okay, let's start with a simple one. So the best thing I ever did for my portfolio was, K-Dub.
Oh, best thing I ever did to my portfolio, realize the value of holding a good chunk in Bitcoin. To hedge. We were just talking about hedging. For a while, I used to be like Wild West, alt crazy, no Bitcoin. And I mean, I couldn't even sleep at night. Like I'd wake up at 3:00 in the morning and the swings would be so astronomical with these altcoins. So finally I decided to just, I put like a good solid, like 30%. Actually, it was around 50%, but I pulled it back just a little recently because I'm feeling kind of feeling the alts a little bit right now, but I keep like a good 30% in Bitcoin now, man. You just sleep like a baby at night. Just trust me. I know. Yeah. So that's for me, that would be the best, I guess. Yeah.
There you go. Kevin, the best thing I did for my portfolio was
not to chase those ICOs that have like those big name advisors.
I feel like when I see McAfee on an ICO now, it's like, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, exactly.
I like John. He's a crazy representative for Bitcoin, but man, when I see that guy at an ICO, it's like that does not give me confidence. Ed, the best thing I ever did for my portfolio was?
Well, I'm thinking long term is just to really, first of all, get started because people that are in crypto and they're like circling and they're like, I don't know if I should get involved, and they're still saying I don't know. And there's going to be a lot of new people, not just next week, next year, next decade. So one is just like, get started learning about it. But the best thing I ever did overall for 30 plus years is understanding nobody is out there to protect me. Not the advisors that I use, not the government, definitely not the government. They're looking for a way to screw it up big time. And if they're not looking for it, it's going to fall in it anyways. So ultimately it's about realizing it's personal responsibility, learning about how to develop a portfolio. And I think cryptos is probably a huge piece of that my opinion, because it really gives the power back to the people. I mean, that's what precious metals was supposed to do. And crypto just brings it, I'm not going to say superior because there are differences, but it brings it to another level and makes it really complicated to stop people from building a portfolio. I think it's the people get their power back. So I'm going to say diversify, learn how to build a portfolio, and take personal responsibility and putting that crypto on, into it.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm agreeing with K-Dub on this. Is that one of the biggest things that I've done to make for my portfolio is actually keeping a decent chunk in Bitcoin. All right, guys, we're gonna go into the next question. So short answers here. I know it can be tough because there's so much to say, but I love it when K-Dub.
I love it when projects communicate well with their community. I can't stand it when there's projects that, they know I have a channel, they know they have an outlet. I'm being completely transparent. I ask them, let's do it. Let's talk. And it's just like beating around the bush. And it's like, guys, this is such a bad look, So I love it when projects communicate with their investors.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. Absolutely. And I always worry when these projects are like unwilling to come and do an interview or something like that, or they will only interview if they have the questions in advance. It's like, I don't do that, man. Like
exactly. It's like,
if you can't answer questions, Kevin, I love it when.
Ooh, okay. I love it when big figureheads in crypto have beef with each other on Twitter. It makes me laugh. It makes me laugh during this bear market, which I really need because there's not much else going on.
Oh man, that's a good one. Ed, what do you got? I love it when.
I mean, it's kind of sarcastic, but I love it when some group of friends gets together, like a big, huge group, and somebody's like, "I'm so glad Bitcoin is down. Those people don't deserve it anyways," And I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you want? Did you want the internet to collapse? Did you want Apple to collapse? No. What's your problem?
I'd like to flip it. I'd like to flip it on its head. I have a question for you.
Yo.
If there's one thing that crypto has taught you, what is the lesson that you've learned? Lark, you go first.
The one thing crypto has taught me.
Could be about life. Could be about anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's to be incredibly strategic and to know your limits in terms of risk, to know your limits in terms of, people trying to push you around. I mean, that's something I guess from a crypto YouTube channel perspective, channel projects being like, well, just like the example I gave, like we're only going to interview if you give us the questions in advance. And they're like, well, no. And so you actually have to be tough and be strategic with your investing portfolio as well. And just really double down on education, I think.
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
What about you guys, Kevin, Ed? What's your biggest takeaway from this experience? What did you learn the most?
Kevin, go ahead. I'll wait.
I think just off the top of my head, I think just being patient is a really big thing because like some people see the price go up and they think that it'll never come back down. But lo and behold, wait like 6 months and it came back down. So I guess who knows if you wait long enough and you really stick to your guns about how you price or how you value something and just be patient and just don't jump the gun. Don't make anything that you previously would not have made under a more rational analysis. Yeah.
Definitely.
Wow. Those are good answers. I'll try to keep it brief. I think two pieces. One is it's taught me that humans are the same. Doesn't make a difference. This could have been 1,000 years ago. The same emotions apply and the same people at the top of the chain are trying to eat you. And that's just reality. And the second piece of that is I've learned that there's some really cool people out there that I didn't think they were out there, and they're thinking the same way as me. They want control. They want to be able to be free. And this is a big piece of that. And it's super cool to connect with those people.
Definitely.
Nice.
And for me, definitely just don't ever trust the news, and whatever CNBC says, do the complete opposite.
I think they're catching on though. I think CNBC's catching on.
You guys see that video that's been floating around of the Weather Channel? The guy like pretending to be like attacked by the rain, and like the people are just walking by in the background, like no problem at all. It's all staged.
Meanwhile, it was a horrible hurricane, but that was a big mistake.
Well, if they would do that, if they do that for weather, imagine what they do for crypto. You know what I mean?
Right. Or anything else they're talking about. Iraq. Anyway, so the biggest mistake I ever made was, and this is actually somebody in the comment section asked this question. I actually had this one written down too. So the biggest mistake I ever made in crypto was, and then we're going to go on to the next thing, guys.
I'd say being overly optimistic and unrealistic, like thinking that a coin that's already 10x is going to 10x again. You know, I've had a lot of, well, actually, yeah, people on my channel know my biggest problem is I'm great at buying the dip. I'm the master at buying the dip. I'm the worst at knowing when to sell. I always assume it's going to go higher, man. And it doesn't, and then it dips, and I'm like, we'll go back up. It'll go back up. It'll go back up, and then so I'd have to say getting better at learning when to take profits and understanding that it's okay if you do. Some people feel like they have to pledge allegiance to these projects. If you're losing money, man, no. And if you've made a ton, take a profit. It's all right. So yeah, that's what I'd have to say.
Yeah, like somebody said in the chat, BitConnect, biggest mistake.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you,
K-Dub? I'm totally on board with that, man. That's. This is the thing. Back in like December, January, I was taking profits, but I feel like I was being too conservative in taking those profits. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes in terms of, actually protecting my liquidity for being able to, buy more later, essentially, or actually just having that bigger chunk of cash basically sitting on the side. So that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made recently in terms of crypto. Kevin?
I guess biggest mistake. Well, I think it's kind of similar to what you guys touched on about taking profits. I think I got a little bit too bought into the whole HODL mindset. But I guess we'll see if that turns out to be a mistake or not, because I always told myself that I wouldn't invest more than I can afford to lose, and that I would hold this as something that I wouldn't want to touch for like more than 3 years and see what happens, whether it goes to zero, whether it goes to $1 million. I guess we'll see. So yeah, I mean, if I didn't buy into that mindset, I could have made better trades and locked in profits. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
I think we're all learning together, though, man. I mean, everybody looks at YouTubers and we're supposed to be like some kind of gods or something. It's like we're just like you, except way more obsessed. Like
I was just going to say obsessed.
This is the point where I like quit my job and do this full time because I freaking love it.
Because I love it. Could love it, man. It's like it's a lifestyle, man. Get to make videos every day. It's just I love it. Absolutely love it too. And this is the thing too. And I think I actually saw a pretty good comment on Twitter about this. Maybe it's Anthony Pompliano or someone like that. I can't remember who said it, but something like everyone here is so new in crypto overall. Like anybody who's saying like I'm a cryptocurrency industry expert, like, well, not really. Like everyone's kind of pretty new here still when it comes down to it. We can really give, a lot of deference to people like Vitalik or Charles, right? Because they're really in it. Like if we think our obsession's serious, like holy cow, those guys are like next level obsessed when it comes to crypto. But there are investment principles that echo across time, and that stuff is important to keep an eye on without a doubt. All right. Next, so this is should we do a Mary Bang Kill session? No. Let's I was gonna say the other word, but that's too far. No.
You could if you want. Somebody in my chat wonders when crypto will actually start interacting with other spaces, like spreading out, to like he was saying anime spaces or other YouTube gamers, like when they really think that this is going to become because we are very isolated. We only really talk to each other. I kind of realized that. I would like to reach out, talk to somebody on like a tech channel, for example, like, hey, what do you think of crypto? What's your opinion? Right. I mean, that would be good for adoption. So yeah, good question, Mark.
Yeah, well, that's a great point, actually. And I've been trying to reach out to people like on politics channels, right? Because that's one thing I'm particularly interested in, the intersection of the political system and cryptocurrency. So I'm trying to reach out to some of these guys because I literally hear them talking about like, well, here's all these problems we're having. I said, well, here's the solutions to the problems you're having, like, So it's just, there's a lot of intersections to be happening here. And we see it already happening in some areas. It happens a lot more than people realize actually happen in terms of like government adoption, using it for land registries, certain video games that are starting to experiment with it, et cetera, et cetera. So it is coming.
Games, huge. Yeah. I'm seeing it in the chat. I've been seeing it with Wax, and I've been seeing it with Engine Coin. Like I said, I just got done with the interview with JL777. I don't want to give too much away, but one of the things he said for mass adoption, he said games, get people playing, get people get them on the blockchain, make it be addicting.
I could not agree more, because quite honestly, that's a generational thing. So when I talked to my son who's 14, he's like, oh yeah, V-Bucks. We use V-Bucks in Fortnite or whatever. I said V-Bucks. World of Warcraft, dude, before you were even born, was already talking about interchanging some kind of virtual currency, and it caused a huge uproar because of this. Wait, how do you take something that's virtual within the system and go out and buy a pair of shoes?
Right.
Nah, you're talking about crossing some legal lines here, and it caused a major problem. And we think like Bitcoin 2008 and really released 2009. Well, before that was eCash. Right, Adam Back, eCash. And if you go back and, we've probably all done this, do some research, we're talking 30, 40 years of developing this. It's not brand new. It's going to take a long time to really get to that place. But if you take a 10-year-old kid who's playing Fortnite and he's already like, oh, yeah, I already interchanged these things, right? No big deal. Yeah, it's a matter of time. It's going to be the next generation that is just going to say, what? This is every day. What's the big deal?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, look at what the Dodgers are doing with the bobbleheads. They got the ERC 721s. Everyone that goes to the game, you get these bobbleheads on the Ethereum network. Most people don't even know they're using Ethereum, but you are, and that's how you do it. Just slide it in, like when no one's paying attention, and then there you go. You're on it. You're using it. So
that's right. That's right, and that's the important thing. That's when we actually start seeing real world adoption. And this is one thing I've been saying a lot is that you're going to know that crypto is big when people are using crypto every day and they have no idea they're using crypto, because that's what the underlying things are going to be when they're getting like, I think of like, I don't know, I do languages, right? And so one of the things I use sometimes is Duolingo to help, do word practice, whatever. And they've got like this in-game currency, which is completely freaking worthless. But if that could actually be translated into like an ERC20 token, have some kind of real world value, dude, people will be learning languages like crazy because they'd literally be incentivized, even if it's like 10 cents per one of these tokens or something.
Look at all those people that just ran that race with the Limpo app, and they were all getting rewarded in Limpo coins for actually running a race, incentivizing people to actually get active. I mean, it's sad that it takes that kind of incentive, but
I have a question though. So I have a question, or at least a point, maybe see where you guys can go with this, because so let's pretend I don't know anything about crypto. I'm excited about that. Hey, cool. I got to run and you gave me these free tokens. What do I get to use it for? It's like reward points. Why not? What the hell? I get a free Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks or a pair of like a 10% discount off of Nike, which whatever. Cool. That's all good, right? That's not really brand new, but if we can use that in a way that's cool, like if it's tokenized. But I have this statement. I'm just going to throw it out there. There's no free lunch. And I do think that there are some projects that are out there that are kind of creating this free lunch kind of attitude. Like everybody should just get free tokens. And then I'm glad. I want to see this adoption, right? I really do. And I wonder, though, is there a lot of like, hey, as long as I can get a free lunch, but if it doesn't really pan out in the end, I'm just going to throw that app away, or I'm not going to really use that coupon, or I'm not going to get involved with that. I wonder how much is just like throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. And it's not, some of these projects are really not anything. Like they're not really even doing anything. And some of them are, and I'm super excited. But I just wonder how much people are like looking for that free handout, like a water bottle at the race. And then they don't use it anyways. They don't care. They throw it away. Now, maybe it helps a little bit. I don't know. I'm all into branding and marketing. I love that. That's great. I just hope that underneath the surface, when you open up the hood in that car, that thing is really running well and it actually works. And that's what in the end, I don't want a failure, right? I don't want people to go like, I knew it was a joke. I want people to go like, whoa.
You don't want people to just be giving out free tokens. And I look at like TripAdvisor as a classic example of a platform that I literally don't use anymore because I got tired of giving them my time and energy so that they can monetize my effort. But if you flip that around and put a blockchain token incentive into it, and there's a couple projects already doing this, you can have verified reviews as an example, and I can actually get paid some small amount, I don't know, 20 cents or whatever to write a review, but it's something, right? And so that's actually, it's not about getting the free lunch, it's actually getting rewarded for the stuff that you're doing already that's literally creating massive value. I mean, look how much value Facebook steals from everybody, essentially. I know we've all agreed to let them have our data for free, but that energy has value. And you're not actually getting this. It's not actually a free lunch. It's actually about getting rewarded for the work that you're doing.
I totally agree with that, Lark.
It comes down
I totally
to
agree. So. There's value. So the key there is there's value. Okay, so in that case, there's value. People just didn't know there was value. So their data, super valuable. They just didn't know it. So they didn't, now we're starting to like know it. Yeah. But that's different because there is actually value in that because we put human energy into it. But so when I spend my time, and I don't want to steal this conversation, when I put my time into economics and I understand it, I mean at the most lowest basic level I can understand, because it really is hard and it's complex, and even I don't get it all, and nobody has all the answers. It's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's very, very complex. So my point here is that most people at least I see this kind of, I don't want to say most people, I see this happening with, some people push it on purpose. Some politicians push it on purpose. Some of them probably don't understand it. And I definitely see younger groups moving in that don't understand how the economy actually works. And the very biggest thing, the very most basic bottom line is you have to create value. That means I put in my hard labor, my energy, my thought process, and I grew something out in the backyard, right? And I made something, and then I eat it. And then if I have excess, that's called profit, I can trade that or sell that. And people don't understand the monetary value came from something that was created first, not the other way around. And I think a lot of people are trying to push something out there going, if they just use my thing, then we'll create value. It does not work that way.
I think that's even a bit about the conversation of like airdrops and stuff too. Kevin, do you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what Ed was saying. And I think that's why what people say about most of the projects are going to die in the future, it's true. And I think that's why the market is like punishing altcoins and certain ICO projects so heavily right now, because they need to suck all this money that came in for those zero value projects out of the ecosystem to get it back to what it should be.
Absolutely. Kata, what do you think?
I don't really have too much to add. You guys pretty much hit all the points. The only thing I can add is from speaking to some of the projects, I could tell you right now, some of them don't even value their own tokens. They've kind of off the record admitted that the token is just sort of a placeholder until I can get more ETH. And then the second thing on top of that is just, I don't know. You guys pretty much nailed it. I agree. You guys nailed it.
Kata, that's definitely worrying when you sort of, you look at some of these projects, you realize there's no real value here in
and they know
token.
it.
And
they know that.
That's definitely worrying when you hear these kind of things. And this is also part of the thing when you see like a lot of ICOs actually have equity sales. And I don't know if a lot of people actually realize this, that in a lot of ICOs, it's not just the token that they're selling. The token is a fundraising mechanism. They also have actually equity rounds where big investors invest in the company because the company is a good idea, even if the token itself is not a good idea. So that's something to be aware of too, for all ICO investors out there to go and ask those questions in the Telegram groups. Like, hey, was there an equity round on this? If so, who invested in the equity round? They're probably not going to tell you, but they should. Because it's funny with ICOs, we're trying to build more transparency with blockchain and all this stuff, and yet ICOs are a situation of incredible lack of transparency.
Even some of the ones that do have a belief in their own token, and you ask them, well, if you were to speak to an investor right now, what would you tell them to give them the confidence that the value of the token will rise? They're like, oh, well, more people are going to use it, and that's going to increase the value of the token. That's your answer?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't start with the what, man. You have to start with the why. You can't just tell me that you have a great product, and because it's a great product, everyone's going to use it. Like, yeah, TiVo was really great too, but everyone uses DVR. Why? Well, TiVo was too concerned about telling you, hey, guess what you can do? You can push this button. You can stop TV. You know, what happened with DVR? It said, well, enjoy tonight with your family. Don't worry about sitting down in front of the TV. The show will be there for you when you're ready. You know, and it really helped to explain why I need it. And I think there's just too many projects like, look at our awesome tech. That's why our price is going to go up. I mean, you know, you look at what happened with even Apple and Linux. Some people, I'm not going to get too into this, but we all know that essentially Apple took the majority of Linux, right? And why were they more successful? It was because they really created that need, that usability, right? They didn't just say, oh, look at the tech, you know? And that's, I think a lot of projects really need to start asking yourself, do we need this? If we don't, stop the ICO, man. Just don't even do it. You know, it's like, I don't know. That's my opinion. Just too many projects we don't need and too much token utility that has actual no utility. And that's why they're failing. That's why they're failing.
That's right. It has to be some kind of functionality to it. And so from a positive point of view, I would only add that, like at the beginning of this, I said, hey, I'm open to this. I'm not negative about it. Like there could be a million of them that people always say 99% of them will be gone. And there'll be more that'll cover a next 99%, by the way. Okay. And that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. because I think that's human ingenuity. Like we keep moving forward. We keep laying down more road and more infrastructure. And we keep learning from it. And there's like right now, this sounds so stupid, but right now there's some 14-year-old kid, one of my son's friends, who I'm having conversations about Bitcoin. And we're having this conversation back and forth, and he understands it. He knows it. And my son is like, Dad, you got to talk to him. He knows all about Bitcoin. He's 14. So think about it, right? This kid will be 15, 16, 18, 21, whatever it is. He's going to be the next wave, not just of speculating, of developing the next 4.0, 5.0, whatever it might be, or some other version of whatever it is that we don't even understand yet. That being said, I'm really positive, excited, can't wait, keep going, right? The problem is today, some of us are like, hey, we want more functionality now. I want to see some of these projects now. I mean, I like hearing about, Cardano. I like hearing about EOS. I like hearing about, and I love the privacy coins. I'm a big fan of the privacy coins. So I love hearing about all those things, but we do get a little impatient. Like we're like, come on, I want more.
I did a interview with a project. I'm not going to say them because I don't want to like shill or pump any projects or whatever, but it's one of the interviews I've done. You can watch it. And I said to them, you guys have like a year and a half on your roadmap. I said, that's a really long time. What are you going to tell everyone? Like, what do you have to say to that? And the guy looked at me like, a year and a half? Like, that's not long at all in the tech world. He was like, do you realize some of these companies out here, it took them 10, 15 plus years to get where they are? You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
So I think we do live in that mentality. Unfortunately, that's that generation. Everything is so fast now, that we don't realize that, look how long it takes a plant to grow, for example. Like, you ever just look at nature? Like, does a tree just pop up? No. I mean, life doesn't move as fast in reality as crypto makes it out to be. I've definitely learned that.
It does move fast in this space, though. That's the thing. And the price is what got everybody. As soon as they got in, somebody wrote, I think he said he got in 3 weeks ago. That's cool. Welcome in, welcome.
Great timing.
That's
awesome.
Definitely.
But if you saw it, let's say a year ago, like even last January, you guys know, like boom, and you're just concentrating on price. It's a time warp. I think even Einstein would be like, what the heck just happened to time? Like it was crazy. So I can understand that. Like you can understand why people get like that. We have to keep slowing ourselves down to check our emotions because we realize most things in life, they still take time to develop. We become a little impatient in this space. And I get why.
Somebody made that reference to Ethereum. They said, well, if Ethereum was a 3-year-old, because it's 3 years old, what would it be capable of doing at 3?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was a funny analogy, but you kind of thought about it. You put it in perspective that way, and you realize,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's kind of it's a funny conversation because we can all look and draw a lot of parallels between what happened with the internet, right? And looking now at some of these cryptocurrencies, like looking at Ethereum today and going, well, it's just dead because of X, Y, and Z. That's like in 1992 or 1993 saying, hey, you know what? The internet's never going to be a thing because today I can't have HD videos instantly streaming across the internet. And therefore it's broken and no one's ever going to use it. Everything's going to be bad. Like it moves, it progresses, and we're building all the time. When you look around, you see everything that's being built. How can you not be bullish on the future of cryptocurrencies? I don't know, because I'm super bullish on it, but there's so much happening right now. It's super encouraging all the time. All right, guys, we're running short on time for our chat here, so I'm just going to go with one more question. Kevin, you can start off on the answer with this. So what do you see as being the top trend for the next coming few months?
The trend, interesting. Well, to be honest, this is kind of a boring answer, but I think it's going to be more of the same. I think we're not quite potentially ready yet, and I haven't seen enough like despair and like capitulation in terms of price action. I've been watching a lot more like traders these days, and their thoughts on the market, and I definitely agree with them in terms of they say that when the market's ready, then we'll recover. It's not going to be in terms of just like any news event, though it could. Though some news, if like an ETF got surprisingly announced, that could jumpstart us. Who knows? But without anything on the horizon, I think just more of the same. Maybe, hopefully, we'll get shaken out and get the market healthy enough, ready for another recovery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And not enough capitulation. I feel like there has been a massive amount of fear and capitulation and stuff, but it can get a lot worse and it can get a lot more until, you just see, I don't know, a lot of people are saying, well, there's all these indicators, but maximum about fear, maximum capitulation. But yeah, we still
Yeah,
have
I
capitulation
mean-
to go in terms of how low we can go.
I've noticed some of my close friends saying crypto is dead, but I don't think it's gotten to like the feverish pitch that people describe it as needing to be true
Basically, the
capitulation. Yeah.
opposite of December, January, that kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Caleb, what do you think?
I mean, it's been pretty rough, but okay.
Pretty rough.
Sure, let's go down some more. Hey, you know what? I'll still be here.
I'm ready, man. Dollar cost average till the moon.
You know,
man.
it's funny because you talk about trends, and obviously people know one of my things on my channel. I do try to do the news, and I get it, it's the news, but in reality, a lot of people don't have time to like really pay attention to this stuff like we do. So I feel like it's helpful, and it's always a different buzzword, man. So to tell you,
And
what
it is. Your show's awesome.
Oh, thanks, Spark. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. I try. I really do. As far as like moving forward, I think it's just these different buzzwords, but we've exhausted a lot of them. Like scalability. It's like, oh, okay, all that stuff. And I think for me, I think it's just adoption. I mean, that's where I'm going. Like, I'm actually trying to use things. Like, I've actually recently, I'm making a video actually about I'm buying some stuff on Amazon using this service to actually buy with Bitcoin. So my I don't know what you guys are doing, but for me, my next couple months moving forward, I want to see how many things I can use and if it's even feasible. Like is this actual thing that we're saying realistic? So for me, moving forward, my theme is usability and adoption. Like, is it actually better? Or is it at least equivalent to what I'm used to using? And unfortunately, we're seeing these streaming services. They're not that great. Some of these, purchasing type websites, they're not that great. So yeah, for me, I think it's usability. I think you could talk tech all day, but if there's no reason for me to use it, then
have you used Purse?
I've heard of it. I haven't tried it yet, though. I've heard of it. Yeah.
Just curious. I haven't either, so I was wondering.
Ed, what do you think?
So my feeling on the trend, this is we could all do a video on this, literally.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I'll try to give it two pieces. One really short. When it comes to the trend of the price, when you talk about capitulation, 5,800 is give or take the number basically, and the volume is low compared to. So until there's a volume pickup, and the closer we come to that 5,800 each time. What has traditionally happened in markets, not necessarily crypto, but in markets, is when you come close to something, either a higher high or a lower low, and you keep coming close to it, the more you come close to it without breaking through it, it's not like it's a guarantee, but it's a little bit more of an edge on a violent break down or break out. So it could be like, hey, cool, break down. Now we're at that number of like 4,000. What the hell just happened? Or bam, you see a spike up. But it doesn't mean that's what's going to happen for the market. It means you'll see something violent. And that's when all the articles come out like, oh, it's collapsing, or oh, here we go again. And it'll be really exciting.
Absolutely.
But I actually like, I know this sounds kind of goofy, but I actually like what I'm seeing happen. When people get annoyed with the quote bear market, oh, dude, sign me up. I'm all over I love bear markets because when shit hits the fan and people are freaking out, and they're not yet, but when people are freaking out, I'm like, oh, yeah, because I know that's when the best buyers make their money.
Time to buy. Time to buy.
That's a fact.
Damn
so
straight.
you wait till all the houses are in foreclosure and you're like, no, I'll wait till it's overpriced. Like the Schiller Index is saying, oh, it's overpriced. Oh, I should buy when it's overpriced. No. Okay. We all hear buy low, sell high, and nobody does it. But I love that when people get so like, but we're not there right now. We might never get there. We might just capitulate at that 6,000 for a period of time. And then who knows? And I don't think it's one ETF that's going to turn it around. I'm sorry. I really don't. It's going to be a group of things that come together over time. And that's what's going to have to happen. It's not one good story, one good article. It's going to be a sweeping, change. And that's what happens because we're in a bear market. It's okay. Could be 6 months more. Could be another 2 years. Doesn't matter. Well, it does matter depending on your timeline.
People scare me over here, buddy.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if I can last that.
My second part of the trend, though, is a macro piece that I just want to throw out there is there's other stuff going on. We have malinvestments that have happened in this space because of cheap money by central banks. And I won't go on a pedestal here, but that's just the way it is. So a lot of speculation came in here, just like it's in the real estate market right now, just like it's an unbelievable amount of $1.4 trillion student loans, just like it's in a lot of places. It's unbelievable global cheap money. and it's got to come home to roost. $4 trillion on the federal bank books here, just in the U.S. alone. They're talking about debasing the yuan more. I mean, hopefully we don't see a complete bottom out like 2008, but quite honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation that came into the space, and as soon as things get ugly, I think we're going to be in trouble here, just like everywhere else. And that doesn't mean the world's going to collapse. I just mean it could bring that violence down, and I hope not. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, but on the flip side, it could be a safe haven.
Well, here's why.
Yeah,
so here's why.
point.
A lot of people
Absolutely.
said that they can't stand that I say that. They're like, shut up. You're negative and you hate cryptos. Couldn't be further from the truth. When oil was too high, when silver was too high, I called them and I said, silver, $10. And people said, you're nuts. Never made it to 10. It made it to 13 from 47. And when oil hit the lowest low was $26, I made a video and I said, I'm buying it today. And that was it. I literally called it almost to the penny, which I'll never do that again. So I'm not trying to be pompous or anything. That'll never happen
financial
again.
advice down there.
Boom, get back up. But because I think there's so many powers much bigger than us that are just like dropping the hammer. And so too much speculation of cheap money came in here too, which isn't bad. I'm just saying that's part of the malinvestment of central banks destroying it. So if it happens, all those speculators ran away. They weren't like in it long term like we are. Okay, they were like they're in trouble. Like they took loans. They took
exactly.
home equity stuff. All their money they should have been at least diversifying. They have debt. They have no idea what they're doing in large numbers because they had cheap money. Okay, so it's going to take time for this to evolve. And I think if it gets ugly, it will be an amazing time to buy. I hope it doesn't. Okay, I really do. I hope it doesn't. But there'll be an incredible spike of people freaking out because although they want to use a service to buy something, their rent can't be paid. And their student loan is like, screw you. You can't even file it on bankruptcy. You will pay me because the central banks are incredibly powerful. So I hope that doesn't happen. I really, really do. And if it does, I'm buying. Trust me,
man.
I'm buying. Okay.
Where have you been all of my life, Ed? I needed this advice months ago.
I want it to just keep going up. I just think there's going to be a period of time. I hope it capitulates and stays.
I mean, I've been looking at a chart. Everyone knows I don't really do TA that well. I've been kind of looking at a little bit of a wedge, and I'm looking at kind of like the third week of October. I think that's like the do or die point for me. That's TA. Who knows? Could do. Piece of news comes out, forget it. So
I've saved some fiat on the side. Just been saving it for a long time, waiting for that moment too. About what
I can't even remember the last time I touched like $1. Like I don't even know what that is. Like
I think I've got one in my wallet, but besides that,
What a blast, guys! I'm having a lot of fun with you guys.
Guys,
you guys are awesome.
This has been an absolutely awesome chat, guys. Then we're gonna go ahead and finish up the live stream here. But for anybody who's stuck with us for the entire live chat, seriously, all you guys out there in the audience are absolutely awesome. So thank you all so much. You guys make it possible for us to do what we do. So you guys are super awesome. Thanks, of course, to everyone for joining the panel today. If you are not subscribed to any of these guys' channels yet, links down below in the description. So go ahead and click on that. Stay up to date. These guys give great information all the time. So make sure you're following along with what they are doing. Thank you, of course, to the moderators and everyone in the comment section. Guys, I think this is the time where we say, long live the blockchain.
And peace out till next time.
Yeah, bye everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.